Wow, yo, yippee, yay, guys. Paw number 21, and I'm super excited to be with you guys today. As always, we're going to dive into love the community, then talk about what's happening on SwissBorg network, where the crazy sold out and within a snap of a second of the first alpha opportunity with XBorg. Talk about protect and choose. What is the consensus? What do you believe will be the next great thematic within SwissBorg? And then talk about one of the most anticipated feature at SwissBorg, how to automate the right habits in order to get wealthy, the right way to de-save, the right way to invest, all that by setting goals and just liking what you love. As you guys know, my name is Sarah Swizzell. I'm the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg. Always here to serve, and you wait for it, you. Question of this week. I don't see any strategy as part of the team to stop the fall. Should the investment in Serie A have speeded up developments? And by removing the yield, shouldn't it be easier to spread CHSB on crypto exchanges? Let's not talk about last year's promise to get positioned to 50 on CoinMarketCap. Marco 90, don't be so negative, man. You just saw the spike of 15% of how the CHSB went to the moon and then unfortunately corrected. I think so we need more utilities. What we would need as well as you guys probably all know, is that we need to do a migration as well. That's not only the fact that we're removing the yield. By the way, we didn't remove the yield part if you think about it. By getting in the hero score, you're actually getting every month the yield on your tokens on behaving in healthy habits. So it was just a modification of the passive yield to something more active, and then going forward, getting a yield probably into DeFi. What we need here is essentially to get to the top 50 is more utilities, decentralize that baby, bring new community members to essentially to embrace a premium model, but the governance that we have on top of it and things that really do care for people. For that, June 20th and 21st in Lausanne in French, 21st in Zurich. Looking forward to show more of that. Then another question of the week, I think so, which was very teamish, but I think so. There's other Sally Borg and a lot of people really want to see this feature, is that how can we see in our app the fact that we bought shares? Well, you probably will have received an email by now, and as well that you can see in Launchpad that not only you're a proud founder, but you see how much shares that you're holding essentially, which is something that is really great. Just for you to put in context, we haven't received the money yet. I mean, we have the money, but we're not able to deploy it. This morning, actually, I was at the notary signing last papers. So the whole capital increase should happen probably in the next weeks. It takes always time then, obviously, for the canton and the federal to accept it and then make sure that the Registre du Commerce has approved the whole thing. There's another question from Timish as well, is that people don't understand why they don't have more shares. And this is something that's very important. I like to dive just quickly into it. There's a great article, but as we did the community dynamic valuation, it's not that you have more shares within SwissBorg community, you have more shares within SBorg SA, the main holding. So you have exactly the same amount of shares, but you have more essentially power. So you have more of SwissBorg shares, because we said that we would give the whole full envelope of 9.53%, 53% exactly, of shares of the entity, to the entire community who invests in the SwissBorg community, regardless how much we raise. So there's a great, essentially here explains it very well. But all in all, what it is that when you first sign for a valuation, which was 400 or 500, well, that is not suffice. We thought it would be fair for you guys essentially to get the whole 9.53. So that's pretty much what we did. So you don't have more shares. It's essentially of SwissBorg community, but you actually get more shares eventually of SBorg SA, which essentially enables you to have more control on the company itself, but as well to have as well more shares and therefore hopefully have a brighter future. Community member of the week is a lovely person. It's called April Zoe. That she has been probably one of the best hunter in the open world that was able to be able to shoot down our dear Borgers multiple times. And I think so Danny was very excited by that, but Alex Talent as well. She's doing a lot of more things as well, pushing, of course. And it's always lovely to have more women into SwissBorg. So please, thank you very much, April Zoe. It's really cool to have you. Please try to bring more women into crypto. I think so. This will be great. If you have any ideas how to do that, let us know and we'll make it happen. Next community events, there's one happening in Lausanne this Thursday. That's going to be really cool. I will be probably attending this one. There'll be as well in Valais on the 31st. And then the following week on Wednesday, 7th, as I repeated last time, we're having Web3 event at the EHL, which is the University of Hotel Management. We're going to have Interstellar, so Wine Bottle Club's going to be there, and it's going to be really, really cool to be there. So hopefully we'll be there and enjoy, Web3 and wine. Few different new things that happened around the security and infrastructure business, which essentially that a lot of people that have been really trying to say that Ledger now is centralized authority that's getting all your private keys and whatsoever. What I believe what was said last week for Ledger is that if you want more security, or essentially you don't feel that your own custody of all your private keys is a good way, you could hash it and give it to different parties. That does not mean that everyone has to do it. That's the first thing. So you could always keep your seed phrase and just not reveal it to anyone. But if you feel that this is the right way to do it, I think so it's very important. A lot of people thought this was very controversial, that then all these private keys will be shared to different parties, and these different parties will eventually be able to do whatever you want with the keys and maybe lose the keys or give it to the government whatsoever. All in all, it was a big FUD. I still believe that self-custody is still not a good solution. I think so what they've just introduced for me potentially is the right way to do these things. But it's whenever you talk about security, there's going to be a lot of concerns, I would say, at the least. Another thing, congratulations to our neighbors here in Lausanne. They just got bought out by Ripple. Medico is infrastructure solution for wallets, mainly for banks. We never have worked with them, but we wish them all the best, of course. Sanction crypto, this is a funny one. Tornado Cash got hijacked actually by people. I think that's quite funny because at the end, Tornado Cash, as you guys know, is a way to potentially do a lot of let's say wrong business to some extent by saying let's protect ideas, but then let's laundry money. On the second end, it was used a lot for essentially people that were hackers, and now hackers essentially hacked their own tool. I think so. In all, it's a great way to put things into words. Yeah. Going back to markets, and we talked about this a bit last week. For those who knows, credit default swap is a CDS. Essentially, it's insurance against a debt, and that could be on states, it could be on anything that you seriously want. It's like buying an insurance in some way. And we are seeing right now that the premium on these CDSs are just out of the roof, which just shows that there's a really lack of confidence in the market right now. There has been all these measures saying that whatever will happen, national banks or the Fed and whatsoever will be able to cover a credit risk, but it looks like the market is not pricing it. So there's two ways to see this. Is rather there's a real concern about the de-dollarization of the world, which is really a subject that I think I touched about just before the end of different banks like Silicon Valley Bank and how USD got depegged. I strongly believe that this is what it is. For me, the dollar has had an enormous weight and it helped a lot global economies, but as well had a huge political agenda to that really did not favor many different people around the world. As we know that now the world is a bit split, there's a very strong chances that the dollar will weaken going forward. I strongly believe this thesis, not only for the emergence of digital currencies and Bitcoin and whatsoever, but potentially of a way that people want to play a local type of thing, like trading UAE versus dirhams versus Nigerian whatever local currency, or Chinese, their local currency, renminbi against, Russian ruble whatsoever. I think this is more and more going to be a game that's going to be played. And that's why today there's a very low confidence in the market, which brings back to the SwissBorg token and about what is happening right now within the crypto market. So if you compare, the total trading volume that has happened over the SwissBorg token is that we did definitely experience some correlation to BTC and Ethereum, as you could see it here, but we had to have as well our all internal different things, like, right? We've like here, for example, this was much higher than the market. Here, this was definitely much higher. And then we had different peaks here. That goes some way along the lines with Bitcoin itself, but at the end, we still have a better agenda. So we have a correlation, I think, so we saw it last week of 0.6 to 0.7, which is still very strong, but it still has its own play. And right now, what we're seeing here is a very low volume, unfortunately, where we're seeing a little bit higher volume on the other different tokens. But now if we do a peer analysis, we could see that peer competitor analysis, we see that it's very similar. So any exchange token right now, such as, the one from Huobi, IHT, but the KuCoin shares or Nexo, which by the way, they're not shares. I don't know why they call it shares. Completely wrong. And this actually is a potential suit that people could run against them, but that's their own business. Then you have Nexo, of course, and then you have the one of Bitpanda. You've seen that essentially is very similar, especially this one. If you like Huobi, for example, which was very similar. Actually, Nexo, not at all, because I don't think so the exchange was working very well. Bitpanda, somewhere similar, but still at its own cycle. And then eventually KuCoin shares that has some patterns that are comparable. All in all, it shows that there's a lack of volume. And for that, well, we need to revamp the token, make a new story, new narrative, more utilities to it, and grow our community. So we talked about XBorg, and I think so this has been a really great new utility for SwissBorg, Launchpad, enabled to actually give a vault where it has the SwissBorg token only as a first. So only Borgers will be able to participate. I really like this idea. I like the fact that each layer that we have at SwissBorg has a utility to be proposed with the SwissBorg token. So I think so this is something I'm very proud of. Of course, there was just a pump and then eventually the dump, but those are good things. And I'm super excited that the first alpha vault was sold in less than few seconds. I think so it was less than 130 seconds. So that the first vault got the 700,000 SwissBorg tokens. For tomorrow, there's going to be a partners one. So everyone that participated into essentially the Series A, the 16,676 people or 67 people had participated. You'll be eligible to participate in the vault, which I think so it's it's 500 or 300K. I'm not too sure. This will be a little bit reduced. There'll be more vaults going forward, which is really cool. We're going to have one on Friday as well, and then we're going to have one on Monday. And that is going to attach to essentially Genesis and then eventually all different premiums. So if you're premium holders, which is over 50,000 people in the SwissBorg ecosystem, you're eligible for this and you'll have different vaults. It goes first comes, first serve. This is definitely going to be a hard one to get. I already got some earlier. I was refreshing the page at 2:00 and I got in and I thought I was super excited. Everyone was. Anthony was extremely excited. And of course, Louis was super proud. So many thanks for those who participated. And for those who haven't yet, get your chance. Make it happen. Auto invests your wealth on autopilot. How many people have said like, oh, investing is very difficult. And everyone tried trading, but most people, we suck at it. Let's face it. I mean, I've been now trading for over 20 years. To be honest, I'm not that good. I mean, from technical analysis to stock picking to token picking whatsoever. I always thought that the most important thing about this is to be systematic. Because you could be good few times, but if you miss a big time, then you get wiped out. And that's what happens to a lot of different people. Like you start building confidence and then you get too emotional and then eventually you could blow up, especially if you have futures and you go long and short, which is not the case at SwissBorg, right? We haven't done that. But if you now learn from really the best of the bests, I think so this is very important. Bandra Graham, probably one of the smartest guys of all time, and Warren Buffett, let's face it, he's missed a lot of things about tech. He definitely doesn't understand Web3, but he's over 90 years old and his track record is still one of the best in the world. And I like what it said is that the most important is never to time in the time in the market beats the timing the market. And I think that's something that is very, very important. It doesn't, you shouldn't not say like, oh, this is the lowest, now I should buy, and this is the highest. It's just that you got to be always in the market. And you just have to be doing dollar cost average, for example. And I think so this goes on is that if you like spending 6 to 8 hours per week working on investments, do it. If you don't, then dollar cost average into index funds or into your favorite tokens. And I think so that is really something smart. Whatever you love, whatever you believe in, just stick to it and invest every day, or take profits when you think you need to take profits every day and not just randomly sell and go into something new, right? This is something that is very, very, very important. It's just like working out, right? I had a shoulder problem for the past, 2 months whatsoever, and I couldn't do much. Got back into it, and now just doing every day, slowly, not to get too crazy. Some push-ups, some pull-ups every time in the morning. Take my cold shower every time in the morning, every day, regardless what it is. Do my little thing, do my breathing every day. And this is the right way to get fit. It's not like just working out once a month and like doing like 5 hours in the gym or whatsoever. Just do some of it every day and make sure you get healthy habits. And now we're going to work a little bit into the smart way of auto invest and what is the main concept. Auto invest is used as dollar cost average, which you guys know was the most popular investment strategy among savvy investors. And we just talked about this right now. What it great is that it takes out the emotional decisions that we just talked about it and the short-term movements of markets, right? What is great is that it gives you higher returns, right? By playing the long-term game and generating a smoother average of buying price, right? It gives that discipline, we just talked about it. It gives the flexibility that you have. And what is great is that you really have control about the amount you're going to invest, but as well the frequency that you're going to put and really fit your right investment goals. I think so this is exactly the perfect way to do things. Don't try to invest just one clunch into one token. Don't try to invest just randomly into as well 5 different tokens. Just do some research on what you like the most, what you like to see in the future, and start investing every day or every week or at least every month into these different investments. So this is a good case and everyone got into this. I started really investing my money because I didn't have much money when I was before university in 2007 when I was working at Julius Baer, right? So I bought a lot of different wrong stocks, already, and then it pumped, right? And it was 2007. The rally was going high, and I was like super excited. I was getting more money because I was getting the salary. At first, I was an intern, then I was getting a salary. So I was even buying more of these different stocks, right? Then 2008 happened, and essentially, not only I wiped out all my profits, as I lost a lot, and then I was like, okay, I'm not going to invest. I'm just going to wait, and maybe 2 years from now, I'll get back to some all-time highs, maybe of different stocks I bought. And when I get essentially into back into profit, into green, then I'll maybe, sell my shares. And this is one way to do that, which is essentially very a sheep mentality. It's just when you see things that are going skyrocketing, you get into it, and then eventually the adrenaline puts, so you put more money in it, and then essentially then it drops, and then you don't do anything. Or you could do it the Borger way. And I think so this is, do it a lot. So if you invested, for example, $5,000 BTC when it was at 60,000, November 21, and you're going to hold it through the whole bear market or through this market, right? Waiting for the BTC all-time high, this could maybe take another year, maybe take another 2 years, right? And the thing with that is that you're going to be probably frustrated and you're just going to wait for it and let it as it is. So now let's try to figure out what is the right thing to do, right? It's always to be invested, that we know. So let's take this example. You put aside, 70 francs, 70 euros per week, 700 if you're richer, 7,000 if you're super rich, whatever is your limit. And you start saying, okay, instead of maybe just spending some money on an activity that is not so important for yourself, well, then start doing the same thing, which is every week, since November 2020. Instead of buying at the peak, right? Buying $70 on a weekly basis. In April 2023, so today pretty much, you would have accumulated 2.3 times more BTC, and you would be in a return on investment of 11% 99. So you actually be in the money. And I think so this is exactly what you should be doing, right? Not just buy one chunk and leave it and then let it go, because that's a great way to do things. But now that auto invest is there, is much better. So given your initial BTC purchase price at 60,000 and you accumulated BTC, your averaging buyer would be decreased to 35,500. So not only you would have much more Bitcoins today, but essentially your average price would be pretty much, almost a half of what it was essentially. And I think so here why this is so important is that you're not going to wait to the next bull run to be in the profit. You'll be probably in the profit within, a few days from now or a few months from now when we get to 35,000. And I think so this is something that's very, very important, is always how to anticipate the next big cycles by essentially putting a little bit by little bit and being in the market all the time. And if you don't believe in this, which is very important, is that, well, every purchase made below your initial bought price, you are decreasing your average buying price, which is completely normal, right? And markets do move and cycle, and you see it very roughly. Like, so I started here, for example, right? I did the run, and then what I should have maybe done here is starting to say like, okay, I've done now maybe, whatever X, I should be potentially selling some. So doing like, some DCA, selling maybe and converting some BTC into USDT. And then when I'm doing this, I'm still doing that here, right? So I would miss maybe this upside, but I still have some of remaining, of course, right? And then here, what I've done is, again, I'll be buying essentially a Bitcoin every day, and I think the price will go down, it will go down, but you continue until you can, of course. And then again, when you do another massive rallying, you switch to buying, you go to selling. Even if you miss this, that's fine. It's really fine to not, again, really be able to capture the full potential of the market. But what you're trying to do is to anticipate the movement of the cycles, of big cycles, not of 5%, 10%. We're talking about 3x, 5x, 10x, like when the market loses 50, 75, 80%. These are the time when you accumulate. The market cycles when you start to sell is when the thing has already done like maybe 100%, 200%, 200%. These are the times when you're like, okay, well, now it's good enough for me to essentially do some risk off, right? And I think so this is how you really see that overall, if you zoom from 2010 to there, you see that there's always these big cycles that come every 3, 4, 5 years. It depends how they're done. So based on what happened is that you can't predict the future, but obviously you could still take a lot of actions in order to anticipate this future. And let's take the example we said earlier. You invested $5,000 at 60,000, the Bitcoin, right? And we're going to take the example here where essentially Bitcoin plummets to 15,500 next 3 months, and then goes up to, at the end of the year, to essentially 30,000. And then in the scenario, the following next year, at the end of the year, it goes to 100,000. That means that we're in the bull run again. And we're in the euphoric moment probably. So what would happen there if you just invested $70 per week? So the total invested would be essentially 5,000 plus the 5,580 in auto invests. What we would do is essentially the profit here would be $14,000, which is fantastic in this case. The total ROI would be 128, and the auto invest ROI would be 181%. So you see you're batting 50% better, essentially, what you've done with auto invests, just besides just buying it in one sense. And I think so this is exactly what I really hope that people are going to build, is how to really build these healthy habits and automate the wealthy incomes. Auto invest, why is it easier? It's super easy to set up. It's recurring investments in any crypto, from fiat to crypto as well. Recurring investment into thematics, of course, as well. It could stop at any time, so it's super flexible. You can invest on a daily, weekly, in every other week, or monthly if you feel like it. I think so it's something that you've been able to diversify as well your risk. If you feel like you have a big position, you want to unwind it into other different cryptos. We will be building new features with it, with a credit card, and to earn and make more analytics, which is really, really important. Obviously, it's going to be flowless. Some of you are going to discover it very soon, which is fantastic. And last but not least, what I love about AutoInvest is that you put finally your wealth on autopilot, which is very important. And you just make your money work for you and for your family, your loved ones, and your investment goals. And I think so. This is something that's very important here, is that healthy habits, you automate them for your investment goals that you want, and you try to play it smart in these times, right? Whereas you don't go in right on, full on, and you put all your budget in. You just do that on a daily basis, weekly basis of buying. And then essentially when you want to get out of the market, when you're in Euphoria, you start doing those goals, and you could, those notifications combined essentially with the AutoInvest is the right way to do that. And like that, you won't be caught into the next euphoric, and you'll be able to deleverage some of your risk and be able again to accumulate in the next bear cycle, and again able to sell when you're in the next bull cycle and not do the opposite. That's what I really encourage everyone. Guardian of the CHSB, you guys are currently voting, so please continue to do this. It's very important to be, of course, into this game. And for the time being, it looks like hard money thematic is really the one you like the most, where 44% of people have voted that this is the one they would be investing into, which essentially is a combination of Paxos Gold and as well Bitcoin. And of course, I think is important. Correct me if I'm not, to put 10% of CHSB in any thematic. So this was a strong utility that we brought. And so far, this is really the hard money, maybe because, these are the two different gold plays. These are the two different ones that are against the dollar, an inflation hedge as well, and essentially a new narrative into the de-dollarization. So I believe this is a great one. I personally voted for this one too. I think it was really cool. I really do love the gaming thematics, which came to with a quarter of the people. And by the way, the votes are not finished, so please continue to vote. I really liked how this was essentially break down into top games, the infrastructure, the top communities, and as well the moonshots, the crazy wild ones. So I think so. This was very, very interesting how it was well designed and put, and how the thematics were composed. Last but not least, mass adoption drivers, which is really sometime a very interesting one. The top DeFi, top SocialFi, GameFi, and top brands. So really here it's a lot about different applications itself. It's about as well some protocols which are important, about GameFi, of course, and last but not least about the main coins that have a lot of community members behind it. I think so overall, these three thematics are great, and looking forward to hear more from you guys. And if you haven't participated, please scan this right away and participate. It's very important to have your say in what we build. Charts of the week, hero score. Our users are trying to accumulate more points, which is really, really great. We're seeing a lot of great things regarding engaging within the CHSB, the thematics as well, which is really, really great compared to the 3 weeks prior to the season. So there's definitely a lot of momentum. People are actually playing the game in a very good, healthy way to very wealthy patterns. So I think so. This is really, really good. This could be a correlation with the end of the CHSB yield as well and new thematic fees. But overall, congratulations for you guys participating and doing the right things, and more to be done in the hero score for sure going forward. CHSB, some data, 344, which is not too bad. Overall, it is pretty much in sync with the markets. The community index, which is really a bad score again, is pretty much the same as last week. Everything is down, so we're at 2.2, which is really horrendous, but it is what it is. Thanks for the social media and the push. That is at least up, but overall, we're seeing definitely that when the markets are not rallying, today is a bit different. So maybe, there's more volume, I think so today, than the last week for sure. And of course, XBorg being launched and other things are going to bring a lot of great values to SwissBorg. Here's what can I say? This week has started extremely well. I'm very, very, very optimistic of the fact that our Launchpad is right away, XBorg, our first alpha opportunity that was sold out within within seconds. XBorg doing very well by itself too on this Launchpad of already $850,000 plus raised there too. So, there's going to be more vaults for partners, for Geniuses premiums, for Generation as well, and other different premiums. So I'm very excited about that. Auto Invest, again, really a great way to build these healthy habits, but just by relaxing and chilling and fixing your long-term goals, trying to avoid the noise and let that baby trade for yourself, which I think so it's the right way to build healthy habits to become wealthy. More to be done, of course, with the Guardians of CHSB. And there's a lot of things that we have in the pipeline for the 20th of June and 21st of June here in Lausanne and Zurich. So I'm very, very fortunate to have you guys really building SwissBorg, and I'm very excited about the future. As always, guys, be wealthy, be healthy, love our CHSB, and now our equity. Take care, guys. Bye.
Through SwissBorg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here is the thing.
Premium features gives you zero fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.